Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another MapleStory video, little mushroom game video. Today's going to be more of a... I hesitate to use the word guide, but I suppose for all intents and purposes, it is a guide. We're going to be talking about Soul Janus, and just how good is it, should you get it, things like that. And also, sort of how to optimize your farming for the best sort of rates per hour for you personally at whatever level of progression you may be at. So, first things first, I am just going to go turn my pet loot off. And we're just going to head out into a map here. And I'm just going to show you what Soul Janus is exactly. I mean, obviously, I'm sure at this point, most people probably know what Soul Janus is. It's this ability here. It is a hexamatrix. It's one of the new cores. Common nodes, I believe. Yeah, the common nodes as they're called. And it has a couple different modes here. You have the base ability, which lets you pick a form of Soul Janus, either being Dawn or Dusk. And the base Soul Janus node gives you a passive experience obtained effect. Starts out at 10% at level 1. Mine is just at level 1 still. You can see here at level 2, the passive experience goes up to 12%, so it definitely scales pretty nicely from what I can see. Obviously, I don't know how it scales exactly, but hey, that's not what this is about. So you put a point into Soul Janus, you put the skill on your bar, or on your keyboard somewhere on your bind, and then you're able to select modes when you press the button. Right is going to be the passive AoE mode, left is going to be the placeable summon mode. So first, I'll show off the placeable summon mode. So you may be familiar with Urda Fountain. Obviously, everybody knows about Urda Fountain. It is a placeable summon, much like Soul Janus can be. So when you have Soul Janus Dawn mode activated, you're able to place it much like Fountain. So this is what it looks like. It's a bit bigger than Fountain visually, and it functions essentially the exact same. You have to get kills for it to proc, but it requires much less kills to proc. Like you can see, the Soul Janus procced before the Fountain procced. Let me see if you can kind of see it here. So yeah, here. You can read that if you want. But basically, it does damage, right? Is what it is. And you don't necessarily need to kill enemies to get it to proc, but you'll notice it's not proccing because I'm not attacking. You have to be in like a combat state. What that counts as for this game, it is up for interpretation. I guess you just have to have killed an enemy in like the last like 10 seconds or something for it to continually pulse. And then obviously this summon lasts for 1 minute. And the biggest thing about Soul Janus is at level 10, I think it's at level 10, it might be at level 20 and 30, but you're able to place multiple summons. Let me double check that real quick just to make sure I'm giving correct info. Okay, so it is level 11, you get 2 summons. At level 20, you do get 3 summons. And then at level 30, you get 3 summons that last 2 minutes each. So the duration doubles. I knew it was something like that. I just didn't know the exacts, but I wanted to give correct information, so I double-checked it for you guys. Now, the passive Soul Janus mode is similar to Nightwalker bats, for all intents and purposes. The easiest way for me to explain it is, if you know what Nightwalker bats are like, or like Night Lord's marks are like, it's basically that. You kill an enemy. Oop, forgot what key I had basic attack on this character. I guess I have to use a skill. Yeah, I have to use a skill. And then it procs Soul Janus, so I guess you have to use a skill. I didn't know that. I'm learning here too. But you can see it attacks just random enemies on the screen. It doesn't even have to be on the screen. It's a giant hitbox, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but you can see just how big the hitbox is on the website that I'm about to show you guys afterwards. But basically, this crystal, I believe it attacks up to 9 enemies, and it does a lot of damage. Especially keep in mind that this is level 1 Soul Janus. It is a lot of damage. 600%, 6 attacks. It creates 9 crystals. It is pretty good. And this is typically the mode that I use since I'm already a Nightwalker and I'm already bite farming. This just basically amplifies the bite farming. It also requires me to have like a lot less damage For example, in the map that I would be farming in if I were farming in Shangri-La would be Spring 2. So I go over here to Spring 2. The way that I would farm this map is I would set my fountain over here, and then I would kind of chill in the middle of the map, shadow biting. And normally my bats 2-shot, I wouldn't be full clearing the map, but with Soul Janus, I very, very, very easily full clear the map. It's not even a stress sort of thing. Soul Janus is just so good, and it's even doubly good with bats because you'll notice the buff up here, it will keep re-procking off bats that continually bounce. So if it doesn't immediately full clear the map, like you see the Soul Janus effect wore off, but the bats are still bouncing, so it's reapplying the Soul Janus thing, it is very good. And it basically allows every class in the game to have a form of bite farming. Might not necessarily be as good as the original, you know, the OG Nightwalker's bite farming, but the fact that you're able to do it is, I think, very cool and very welcome in this game. Now, I talked about the sort of rates and getting better rates for your map. This is maplemaps.net. I'll put a link in the description. I'm sure if you're familiar with consuming content about MapleStory from like things like Reddit, YouTube, you've definitely already heard of this map, or this website, excuse me. But basically it lets you look at maps, and it gives you information on all of the maps that reasonably exist in the game. I'm pretty sure it's all of the maps in the game. But, for example, it'll tell you things like Blooming Spring 2 Shangri-La has mob level 275 in it. It has a maximum spawn of 18.2k mobs per hour. With instance bug, it adds an additional spawn, so you get 18.7k, the base experience, the base meso, and then the cap amount of monsters per spawn cycle. This website is fire. Would highly recommend you use it, which is why I'm showing it here. And you can also just navigate with maps like this. So if I want to go to Grandis, let's say we go to Grandis, we go to Cernium, we go to Overlook 2. This is a map that I farm for familiars. It shows you all of the information here. If you play regular server with Frenzy, it also shows you Frenzy rates. This website is chef's kiss. But this is not the only thing that this website is good for. This little button up here in the top right, you can't see it here because my screen is cropped off, but on the right side of the screen, kind of where over my mouse is, you can kind of see it go right here just off screen. There's a rotation helper button. We click this and then we go into the rotation helper mode. All you have to do, you select your class. So like for me, I'm a Nightwalker, I select Nightwalker, and we can sort of plan out how we would farm this map. So for example, let's say I'm using Soul Janus Dusk mode, which is the passive sort of bat mode. You can see just how big the hitbox of this is. It is massive. Let me zoom out for you guys, just so you can see. This thing covers pretty much the entire map if I'm in the middle, right? This skill goes wide. And this is good. And this is the big perk to this website. It lets you see just how far skills will reach. And this is important, again, because it helps show you how, like, efficiently to farm a map. So, for example, if I wanted to bite farm this map, I could kind of figure out where my things hit and, like, where I want to stand. So, like, pretty much I just stand here. When I do farm this map, I stand, like, here. So my Shadow Bite is hitting this stuff, and then my Soul Janus is killing everything else that I don't hit and my bats don't bounce to. It's a very easy map to farm. And obviously, if you're playing a different class, things can be much more helpful than just showing, like, how big Bite, for example, is. Like, let's say I'm playing, I don't know, an Angelic Buster. Let me reset this. Reset all of this stuff. So now we go back in here. I'm now an AB. Let's say I'm going to still be using Soul Janus. Let's say I'm not using Soul Janus Dusk. We'll reset all of that. Let's say I'm using the summons, and I only have one of the summons. So I'll put my summon here, and then I'll use my Urda Fountain, and let's say, I don't know, I put it like here. And then I'm using where is Celestial Roar? Here. let's say that I'm using Celestial Roar, and I'm hitting the mobs, like, here. And then I can reasonably be expected for my Soul Seekers to, like, hit here. So, like, I could position myself to kind of like this. You can kind of see how this would be very helpful, right? Like, this is such a powerful tool, not only because it shows you the statistics of each map, but it allows you to plan out a rotation to help you clear said map in the best way your class is capable of. And I know a lot of class discords already have sort of, you know, rotations set up, and other people have shared rotations, but if you want to go and look for rotations yourself, this is how you do it. It is very simple, and a very powerful tool that I highly recommend you guys utilize. But ultimately, I think that's going to be this video, so thank you guys so much for hanging out and seeing the true power of Soul Janus, what it does, and should you get it, which is, the answer is, it's up to you ultimately, but I think if it's your main and not a bossing mule, the answer is yeah, 100%. Level 1 Soul Janus is probably the best use of fragments you could possibly do on a main character. That's my opinion. That shit goes hard. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll stop yapping. Thank you to my YouTube members. Consider becoming a member if you want to support the channel a bit more. As always, your view is more than enough. I see you guys all in the next one. Bye!